Hey, what's up everybody? So welcome back to the e-commerce app in Flutter. So in this video, I'm going to use here a block pattern in Flutter, and this all video is all from the scratch, so you will enjoy. And let's jump into the demo first. So you see here we have a 5 product listing here. So if I'm going to add the product 1, 2, and 3, and so the 3 product has been added to the cart, as you could see here, the nice looking counter. And if I'm going to add the same product twice, you see here the product already added to the cart. Alright, so let's go inside the cart screen, and you see now we have 3 products in our cart. And if I'm going to remove one of them, and now one of the product has been removed from the cart list screen, right? Alright, so we can also check out that and see the request that we get. So if I'm going to click right here, you see here the cart has been empty, and it shows the message that the product checkout successfully. If I go back and it's navigate back to the product listing screen, right? So I'm going to show you the request that we get here. So you see we have got 2 products, so the product 1 and the product 2 that I have printed out. And later, with the help of some backend API, we're gonna save that data in the database, which we're gonna do and plan in the next coming video, right? So first, make things very simple and very clear, then how we can add the product to the cart using block pattern. So first I'm going to cover up the slides, and then we're going to work in the coding section. So let's jump in and get started here. All right, guys, so first jump into the slides, and you understand that what actually is block. So we have to cover up some very basic concepts in block pattern. So the first thing is there is the block pattern and the key components of the block pattern, and what actually is qubit, which we are going to use in this project. And we have to understand the concept between the feature and the stream. So these are all the essential concepts. If you understand that, it will be much more easier for you to understand the block pattern before you jump into this tutorial. All right, so this is a very easiest diagram to understand the block pattern. As you could see here, that block stands for the business logic component. So it's a design pattern that is it's commonly used in Flutter for state management, and it separates the business logic of an application from the UI. As you could see here, that's the user interface, and that's the block. That's the hidden box that it contains all the business logic here. And we give an event, so events are considered as an inputs. So it takes the request and get the data and give the response of the data in the form of states. So states are represented as an output, and events are represented as an input in the block. So let's first cover up the block pattern component. So the block is the business logic component that receives the event and emits states based on those events. So it all depends on the events that we have, and it gives an output in the form of state. So what are events? So events are like typically represented by the simple classes or enums, and you can give some input through events, and it triggers that and change in the block. And on the other hand, states are an object that represent the current state of the block. So you can say as an example that they can be used to represent both the UI state and the business logic state of the application. So whenever there is any interaction of the input, it gives an output in the form of state and show the result and represent that in the UI state of the business logic application. And regardless of the UI on the down here, and it is responsible for rendering the current state of the application to the user and for handling user input events. So suppose we have a button, and once we click on that button, and that's incremented by 1, and once it's incremented by 1, that's going to display to our UI with the help of state, right? So that's the very basic example. Let's cover up the example in the next slide. All right, so here I cover up a very basic counter class block that extends with the block, which includes even and the states in the brackets, in the angle brackets. So here we have integers, and we create here a stream. Stream is basically the use for the asynchronous programming, which continuously takes an stream of inputs. And down here we create here an abstract class. So these are abstract class. So down here we have just simply extends those counter event with the new 2 classes. So we created those 2 events, and how it works that right inside the map event to state method, where we bring us the event object and check if that event is incremented event. That's what we created inside in the counter event, which is extending with this. So we create 2 we define those two events, and we define the business logic which is going to render, and that's how we can implement a very basic block. That's a basic example. And this async static means that we are going to return multiple events. So that's the example. You can use here yield in the older version, and now in the new version we use emit, emit, and there's no need of the static. And we can either use stream, we can use future. I'm going to explain you what actually stream and future in the coming slides. All right, so let's understand the qubit. So qubit is a lightweight state management solution that provides a simple alternate solution for the block pattern. So it's essentially a simple state container that exposes a stream of state updates. So let's go into the example. As you could see, we have a class of counter qubit, and we extend that with the qubit. So in this example, you can see that the qubit class, which exposes a single stream of state updates of type int. So this is the stream of state, which is of type of integer, and have two methods of increment and decrement, which updates the state by emitting new values to the stream using the emit method. So that's the very basic example, increment, decrement. We have two methods, and with these two methods, we can update the state by emitting new values, and that can simply emit that. And emit means that we are returning that. So the understanding that you need to keep in mind that it's a state of container that exposes a stream of state updates. So you see here in this example, we have used no events. It's a state container. All right, so let's jump into this next slide. And the concept that we need to cover up is the streams and future. So these are the two very important concepts that we need to understand. So in Flutter, future and streams are important concept for asynchronous programming and state management. If you have understanding about async requests, so you see that we can have multiple requests, and it's not stop until all the requests has not been completed. So that's the benefit of using async. So a future represent a value or an error, means that if we have some request, so it will either given as an output as an completed or as an output as an pending state. So it's all up to the request that we get. So when the value is available, the future is completed and with either a value or an error. So it could give you some sort of an output, which can depends on the state, either as in pending or as an completed state. So that's the very basic example for understanding the future. And you can see that it also it may take some time to complete, such as reading the data from a file or making the network request. So if we have some API call, and until that request is not fetched completely, so it's still in some pending state, or it can be in some completing state. You will understand that once we are going to cover up that. All right, so on the other hand, future, we have a streams. So streams, on the other hand, represents a sequence of asynchronous events. So we can have an asynchronous events. So just take it as an example. When making a network request, you might use a future to represent the result of the request, as we discussed. But on the other hand, streams to represent ongoing update on the request as the request progresses. So such as the user input the data, it update from the server. When a stream is created, it start emitting events immediately. So it start returning those events in the form of state and continues to emit events as they occur. So it's not stop, it's an asynchronous operation, right? So you can say that async and await keywords you have used, and which is extensively with future and streams to simplify asynchronous programming. So async and await, you can write asynchronous code that looks and behaves like asynchronous code. But overall, future and streams are important concepts in Flutter block pattern and used extensively to manage asynchronous operation and states update. All right, so we cover a bit the slide, so let's jump into the coding section. Alright guys, so the first thing that I'm going to do is to install the Flutter application. So I'm going to create with the help of CMD and simply type Flutter create, and let's give it the name of ecommerce underscore app underscore block. Alright, so just create that for you. So I'm going to use here VS Code. You can use Android Studio, whatever you feel more convenient. So I'm going to cd into the e-commerce underscore app underscore block. All right. So let's open up with the VS Code. So I'm going to add code space dot for you. All right, so I'm going to navigate right up here, and the first thing that I'm going to do here is that's the very basic structure for the Flutter application, and this is the lib folder, and inside a lib folder we have a main.dart file where we have a boilerplate of the application. So I'm going to remove all from here and write everything all from the scratch, right? So make sure you have installed the very basic extensions. I have my emulator already configured. You can either search on the internet, or there are other good tutorials on the YouTube that you can search how you're going to connect that. I'm also planning to make a video all from the scratch where you can learn how to install the Flutter right on Windows. So I'm going to use Windows here, and I'm going to move inside my main.dart file, which is the entry point file for the Flutter application. So let's gonna write up here a very basic class here. All right, so let's first run the main method here. So I'm going to define here void main and give it the name of run app here, and let's create here a stateless widget down here. So I'm going to create here press S, and you can see here we have a stateless widget. So I've installed the extensions for the Flutter and the Dart. You can install that and you can see those suggestions here. So I'm going to name that my app here, and let's define that my app class right inside the run app here. All right, so my app here, and make that const. All right, so let's go inside the build method, and that's the method where we have to create our material app. So let's go here and define material app, and inside material app we have a theme. I'm going to define a theme data. So let's give it here theme data, and define the primary swatch, and oops, actually I just need to minimize that. So primary swatch, and give that colors dot indigo. All right, and right after that, right after the theme data, I'm going to define here the title. Let's give it the e-commerce app. All right, so that's the e-commerce app, and next to it I'm going to define my initial routes. Let's define that slash mean that it's going to be a main route for that, and to define the routes we need to define routes colon and like the curly braces, and I'm going to define here slash for my main route, and we can define colon, and after the colon I'm going to define here the context, and after the context let's make that the name of the screen, which is the main listing screen for us. So we have to create that. So let's create here a new folder with the name of screens, and make that the name of the screen should be product underscore list underscore screen, or dot, right? So here I'm going to create here a stateless widget, and let's give it the name of product list screen, and make sure that you import the right one. I'm going to import the material.dart package. All right, that's it. All right, so here I'm going to define the product list screen, and oops, product list screen, and that's it. That's the part of it. So the reason why I did that, I'm going to show you, because we have this product list screen should be our main initial route. So you can define that initial routes, and that's the route that we have defined for the product listing screen. All right, so let's go back here, and inside the product list screen, so I'm going to create here a very basic product list. So first we have to also define the model. So I'm going to create here a new folder with the name of model, and let's define here only the one model that we're going to use here. So it should be product.dart, and that's the model that I'm going to use here. All right, so for the product model, all we need to do is just simply give it the name of the class, which is class product. I'm going to just zoom this more, you guys could see better. So class of product, and we have an ID, so final int ID, and then I'm also using here a name, so string name, and also make some price, so final double price, and we also have a quantity, which is by default 0. So I just want to make that int of quantity. And the reason why I make the price double, because it could be a floating value. And right after the quantity, I'm just going to make the constructor for it. So product here. All right, so required this dot ID. Next we have a price, so make this required this dot we have a name first, and next we have our price. So required this dot price, and the last thing that we have is the quantity, which I want to make that by default to be 0, and that's it. All right, that's the very basic model for our product listing screen, right? So let's go back to the product list screen, and I'm going to create here a very basic product list here. So I'm going to copy it from my existing code just to save some time, and I'm going to paste it right up here, and let's import the model for the product.dart, right? So right inside my widget build method, I'm going to remove this from here, and let's define first the scaffold here. So for creating our app bar here. So right inside scaffold, I have an app bar here. So let's define app bar. Right inside the app bar, I have a title, and make this const text and give it the name of product list. All right, and make that center. So center title true. And we also have some actions where we have to show the round looking icon for the counter. So make that icon button. So icon button, we have an on press property. Make this empty for now. We don't need to navigate. So first we will move step by step. We see how actually things working. So we have to display the simple basic product listing, right? So this could be the data that we have defined here, the static. That could be from some API, which we're going to do in the next coming tutorials. So first thing makes very simple. So let's define here an icon. So const of icon, and let's give it here the name of icons dot. I'm going to use here shopping underscore cart underscore outline. Shopping underscore cart underscore outline, right? That's it. That's what I want. All right, so we define here the actions, and right after the actions, you see we have a body right after the app bar. So right inside the body, I'm going to define here the list view builder for displaying my product. So we have an item builder here, and you know that item builder gave us the context and the index. So let's define the context and the index. And right inside here, we have to also define the item count. That's also the property. And that item count will see that the product list dot length. So all the products that we have, we need to get how many products we have. So simply you need to define product list dot length. That will give us the total number of products that we have, which in my case is 5, right? That's as simple as that. All right, so right inside here, I'm going to also define, let's first return the list style. So list style is a very, very useful widget which provides us the option for the title, subtitle, and the trailing. So first let's define here a title and make it a text widget. So we need to define here dynamically the products that we have inside the product listing. So for this, all you need to do, it's a very simple trick. Let's first define a variable with the name of final product. And we have a listing of products, so define that. And here we have to define the index. So the reason why I define the index, because item builder provides us the index that which product we have to loop it, we have to loop the data. So let's bring up this index in. And here I'm going to define product dot. Let's first, if I want to show the name, simply show it product dot name here. All right, so let's define here the subtitle, and I'm going to give it the text widget. Let's press the single quotes dollar, and I'm just going to change that one with a different way because I need to concatenate here the dollar sign, and that's the price for this. Next, we have our trailing to display the button at the end. So I just need to give it the icon button, and icon button give me two things, which is the on press, which just make that empty for now, and let's give it the icon here. So I'm going to give it the icon, and let's give it the icons dot and give it the add underscore shopping underscore cart outline. That's it. That's what I need, and make this cons for now. All right, so that's it. So here, now we are able to show the product listing on our screen. So let's run this project. I have my pixel file connected here, and go to the main.dart and just simply debug that, right? So that's the first part of it. So I also need to install some dependencies here. So the first dependencies that I need to install is the Flutter block. So let me go to real quick to the incognito mode. You can open up your browser, and let's write here Flutter underscore block. All right. So once you're gonna type this one, very first one, you see here Flutter underscore block, and that's the package that I'm gonna use here. So this package is the Flutter state management. So that make it easy to implement block design pattern built to be used with block state. So let's go into it and install that. And I'm gonna grab this one, Flutter pub add Flutter underscore block, and let's gonna move to its terminal and simply type this Flutter underscore block. And another package that I need to install, which is the Equitable. So Equitable is a Flutter package. It's a Dart package, and that help you to implement value-based equality without needing to explicitly override a hash code. So that's basically equality comparison, and it saves a lot of time. You see here as an example, we create here a class of person, and we create here an instance of that, and they are, and once we try to compare that, we are run into some problem. So there is a way, that's the way we can define the override and hash code with the help of Equitable, and there is a lot of boilerplate inside that, and you can read this documentation, and once we're going to implement that, I'm going to explain that. So let's install this package, which is very helpful. So dart pub add Equitable, and let's go back to the terminal and simply add this one. And once you install that, you can see now it's add into your pubspec.yml file. We are going to use these two packages here for now, and I hope there will be, maybe we don't need more packages now. So let's gonna run and restart this again, just because we have installed the packages. And if I go to my emulator, and you see now we have product 1 to product 5 here, and with the nice looking icon on the right. And so I hope this video is end for now, and in the next coming video we're gonna work with the block. We are gonna write some events, states, and the block class, and we are able to add the product in our cart, right? So that's it, guys. So I'm going to see you in the next part.